Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Now, today, I want to explore the world of corporate learning. Wait, don't hit the stop button just yet. We all know exactly what is wrong with corporate learning, and man, I'm with you all on that one. But I actually want to talk about how technology can change all that boring corporate learning stuff. And when I was exploring this, it brought me to a company called the Learning Alliance. And they're a leading talent development company that has worked with international enterprise level companies for years. And they recently announced the launch of a new company called Regatta VR. And Bill West, he's the founder of the Learning Alliance and developed learning solutions to the world's greatest companies for over 25 years, including some pretty big names such as Amazon and Microsoft. So it's fair to say he knows what he's doing. But his efforts to help set up Regatta and set them up as an early market pioneering that can leverage the capabilities of the Alliance to roll out VR solutions on a massive scale, well, let's just say that grabbed my attention. And as for everybody listening, did you just say VR and augmented learning? Okay, I'll stick with you. If you did, hopefully I've redeemed myself. So buckle up and hold on tight so I can beam your ears all the way to Indiana so we can talk with Bill West, the founder of the Learning Alliance. And he's going to tell us all about bringing virtual and augmented reality into businesses and corporate learning and so much more. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Bill West, I've been in the e-learning industry for a very long time. I think I was in e-learning before it was called e-learning, way back in 1989. I own several companies that build custom e-learning, including the Learning Alliance and Regatta VR.
Fantastic. Now, the Learning Alliance is a leading talent development company that has worked at the enterprise level for international companies for years now. But for people listening that are just tuning in and hearing about them for the very first time, could you just maybe offer a bit of an overview and set the scene?
Sure. Doesn't surprise me. We don't advertise much. We formed the Alliance with 5 of the top brands in the industry, hence the name. What I recognized a couple years ago is that it was difficult to find a company that could canvas the entire ecosystem and capabilities, yet have the capacity that the large companies needed to respond to their scale needs. And so that was the formation of the Alliance, pulling these companies together to do both those. We built a wide range of training solutions for very large accounts, everything from classroom and web training to games and virtual reality.
The Learning Alliance has organised its virtual and augmented reality businesses into Regatta VR recently. And the new company, I believe, will focus on the exploitation of immersive media technology for corporate training. And I believe you're going to continue as the CEO of both companies. But can you just expand on that announcement and also what it will mean for both companies? Because they feel like two very different directions.
No, they really are. It's going to allow both to thrive. It's two very, very different business models.
Yeah.
You can think about it as if the Alliance was a cruise ship. They're large, they go steady, very predictable and such. Regatta is more like a mid-sized sailboat. It's got to be nimble. It explores uncharted waters, and you can't do both with the same boat. And so it was really important that we separate the two so that both could thrive.
So Regatta then leverages the power of virtual reality and augmented reality to develop enterprise-wide learning that is effective, but also, obviously incredibly important, secure too. I mean, that on its own sounds incredibly exciting, but can you tell me more about it and what you think makes it unique from all the other solutions out there at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is very exciting. It's also very, very complex. It gives us a richer ability to build performance and really shape behaviors. The immersiveness of the scenario is the fact that you put the headset on, makes you feel like you're actually there, and it substitutes the real world around you. Unlike the two-dimensional world of an online course where your phone, your email, people walking by could distract you, and then you can only immerse yourself so much in that little screen where you're seeing a video or an animation or such. You put that headset on and your world completely changes, which makes our ability to do a lot of things much better. But it's a new technology. It's not just a new media like when we adopted Flash or video. It's very complex because it's like installing a whole new information system at a company.
And what put you guys on my radar was this focus on the exploitation of immersive media technology for corporate training. So I'm conscious, for any business leaders that are listening, can you maybe offer a few scenarios that will actually help them visualize how this could work in their world, or what you have in mind to bring their corporate learning to life?
Sure. There's three primary areas that I talk about when we're doing this. One is often called soft skills, but it's the idea of putting put yourself in someone else's shoes. We deal with empathy, harassment, especially sexual harassment, and ways to shape behaviors by being the victim, having the predator right there at you, or being in a customer service situation where someone is being rude to you. And it feels like you're really talking to that person, and we're able to leverage different aspects of the technology that can actually produce a visceral reaction. Which makes it really exciting. So in terms of shaping behaviors, it's far more superior than some of the other technologies we've worked with. Hard skills, you talk about manufacturing sites or medical device manufacturing and such. It allows us to put a safe environment together where they can interact, and it feels like they're on site, and we can teach them skills that are important without them having any harm to themselves. Teach them how to operate complex equipment without the fear of breaking the equipment or losing money in the process. And the third one is just the simulation, putting yourself in another space. Being an auto adjuster, being able to put you in front of a virtual car where you can walk around the car, take the car apart, look for damage. Or put you in a shopping center where you can rearrange the shelves and interact with customers. Just the ability to completely change your environment. Those are three of the key areas that are most hotly requested to us, and ones that I think are most startling.
And I know it's early days yet, but what kind of feedback are you receiving from corporates out there?
It's scary. I say, our job is to maximize the exciting bits while we minimize the scary bits. Again, it's like sailing. They always said sailing is, it's 90% pleasure and 10% sheer terror. And what we find in the experience is that the SMEs, the designers, it's a really enjoyable experience. They get to work with this new media and come up with great ideas. At the same time, the IT guys are working in parallel, trying to figure out, how am I going to distribute 10,000 headsets and keep them up to date? How am I going to ensure security behind the firewall? How do I integrate this using SCORM or XAPI? There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that need to be handled. The other piece is that it takes a blended solution. You can't put a person in a headset for a half hour or an hour. You can't really present linear content to a person in a headset. It's just not effective. It's amazing for interactive experiences and such and activities. So it has to be blended with either a classroom session or online sessions. And then you also have to do what I call non-VR VR. You're not going to have enough headsets for everybody. And some people just flat out won't put the headset on. And you may have a compliance course that you need to roll out in a very short period of time, and you just can't disseminate enough headsets fast enough. So whatever you do in the headset has to have an equal representation on the desktop and even perhaps in a mobile device, so that you can address the entire audience the way you want to be able to address the audience. And that's really important and something that's often overlooked.
So as the founder of Learning Alliance, you have developed learning solutions of the world's greatest companies for over 25 years now, including big names such as Amazon and Microsoft. But what are the biggest lessons that you've learned in that time? And especially for anyone that could be listening at the beginning of their journey, is there anything that you could pass on to those people listening?
That's a really good question. Microsoft being one of my favorite clients, they once said during a review, we asked, what have we done to be successful? And they said two things. They said, you take instructional design very seriously and you're easy to work with. And those are words that we've really tried to put in place everywhere we go. To high competency in our practice and flexibility, which is really essential. Some companies really struggle in this because they want to set a deadline and say, okay, everything's got to be ready on this date so we can go. And the client isn't ready. because the client's trying to figure things out, and you have to be flexible to that regard. And then you become their friend, you become their partner, their escort through it, and everybody is successful. Some of the other things we've learned along the way is that the new media gets really exciting. When Flash came out in the early 2000s, then video came out, and now VR is coming out. All this stuff is very exciting. But too often, the client and the vendor especially gets all caught up in this new media, and they forget about design. And if you don't have really good design behind it, then the new media is not going to reach its potential. The other thing we've learned is just agile works instead of linear, and you have got to get it in front of the client as early as possible. We just finished a prototype session with one of our largest clients. Figure out how to prototype a VR experience, right? We used to send out prototypes of e-learning, and you just send a screen capture and maybe a couple interactive objects and a web link, and they could go out there and play around a little bit and see what you're up to. Get a sense of whether you're heading in the right direction. Well, think about how to do that in VR, where it's all inside the device. So we pulled everybody together in one city through a 2.5-day session where they got to experience it, put the device on, we walked them through, they got to see a lot of different interactions. All of a sudden, the process of user testing gets really, really complex with this new technology, but you have to do it. Otherwise, you go way off on a line. You find out that you're wrong once you roll it out. It's really hard to roll back and try again.
And of course, looking to the future, are you hoping to leverage your experience to enable Regatta to roll out of VR solutions, but on a massive scale? I mean, is that something you can go into as well?
Yeah, I certainly can. That's where the Learning Alliance and Regatta relationship really, really pays off. We took the embodiment of all of our experiences to build the Learning Alliance. It's as perfect as we can make it. Now it's an infrastructure and expert base for Regatta. When we need to scale, we need more instructional designers, or we need to tap into other expertise like technology integration or something. We're able to pull those skills over from the Learning Alliance and use those. And one of the things we are really trying to do that we learned through the Alliance is try to find a way to map low-end to high-end solutions to meet the demands. Not everybody can drop $1 million in order to implement a VR program. It's just not feasible. If they've got 30,000, 50,000, whatever they've got, we've got to find a way to produce a solution for that. And that's one of the things that the Alliance did exceptionally well, was to produce gradient solutions that, we could produce a very good solution at any price point. And that's one of the things that Regatta is going to be able to do as a result of what we do, what we pull from the Alliance. That gives us scale. That gives us massive scale capabilities.
And I'm sure your words are going to resonate with a lot of business leaders listening today. So is there anything else that you can share with us about the future of Regatta and these VR solutions that you're implementing?
Yeah, in terms of Regatta, what has worked for me in the past is just is sharing thought leadership and pulling from the industry. And the more thought leadership we're able to share across, the more people that I'm able to tap into to come in and share with my clients, the more successful we've become. And we're going to continue to do that. We're also going to continue to build alliances. Our clients want a turnkey solution. They don't want to decide, hey, I want to do VR, and now I got to work with 4 different clients to get the whole thing done. They want one person. They want a turnkey solution. So that requires multiple skills, just like the Learning Alliance did. So we're going to keep building alliances with companies that provide bits and pieces of things that we need to successfully build out VR. And that really works if both sides have the same goal. What's most exciting is the library. We're going to roll out a full library of off-the-shelf VR experiences for some of the common needs that have been requested: sexual harassment, empathy, diversity, and inclusion. And we're going to push those deeper into areas where we really think that we can make a difference through this technology. Anti-bullying, which is really, really huge. PTSD, Alzheimer's, mental illnesses. These are things where we can actually tap into really hard spaces to touch, really difficult areas. But if you can change a person's behavior and really help empathize through all those things, you could make a really big difference. So while we're making money doing all the corporate stuff, we're really trying to also push this towards things that may actually make a difference to humanity.
So before I let you go, could I also ask that you point everyone in the direction of where they can find you online and find out more details about Regatta, about Learning Alliance, and maybe even reach out and contact a member of your team, just if they do have any questions after listening to us today?
You bet. The website is Regatta regattavr.com, regattavr.com. They can reach me directly at bill@regattavr.com. And I always enjoy talking to the industry. So if I can, I'll take the call personally and be glad to share some ideas.
Fantastic. Well, here in 2019, of course, businesses must continuously evolve to thrive and survive in a digital age, but it's not always been like that. But what I love about what you guys are doing here is you've been doing learning solutions for the world's greatest companies, such as Amazon and Microsoft, for 25 years and continuously adapting and evolving with the time. And it's a fantastic story. But a big thank you for coming on and sharing that story with me today.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Neil. I appreciate the invitation.
Bill is one of those all-round great guys, and I only had a few moments to speak with him and hear his story today. But at the end of that conversation, we agreed there's a warm beer waiting for him if he ever comes to the UK, and a cold beer waiting for me on ice if I make it over to Indiana. And I'll be honest with you, that is what I love about doing this show. Real conversations, real people talking about solving real problems with technology. And anyone out there is listening that has endured corporate learning, you know who you are, and I suspect it's most of you. Would virtual reality and augmented reality actually spice things up and get that message across in a more clear and concise way? I'm quite curious what you think about that. So email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, or tweet me at Neil C. Hughes. And you can also share your corporate training experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and how you think technology can change things. Finally, a big thank you to Bill for taking the time out of his busy schedule to come and join us today. And last but by no means least, an even bigger thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in to this Daily Tech podcast. I know I do throw a lot of episodes your way, and it is a big ask, but I just wanted to say I appreciate each and every one of you. So thanks for listening, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.